Hello, you are watching the Hustle and Know Entrepreneurial Experience. We are a book club that is moving into the podcast world. Each week, we read and discuss books relating to entrepreneurship and personal and professional development. Joining us today, we have very special guest, Priscilla Chavez. Priscilla is a former colleague and a friend of mine who is an active knowledge seeker. She has been in the marketing and advertising industry for a couple years now and has grown an interest in all things psychology. So today we are going to be discussing the book, Maybe You Should Talk to Someone by Lori Gottlieb. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so first question, everyone. In one word or sentence, give me your synopsis of the book. If you were the author, what main point do you want the reader to take away from this book? So I'm going to put Joseph on the hot seat so he can show how it's done to everybody.
I just want to start by saying I feel attacked. The synopsis, I think the main takeaway from this book is that everyone has their issues, and a lot of times it's like really hard to sort it out on your own. So you need help, like you need another perspective, because it's so easy to fool yourself and like avoid your own issues and be like, you know, my like she was doing, my ex-boyfriend is a jerk, he's just a horrible person. But if you have someone else there, they can kind of give you that, go deeper, and you can see what the true issue is through therapy or just by talking to a friend.
Mm-hmm. Very true. Okay, who's next?
I can go. Yeah, sure. I guess the synopsis I will put on that book is even the experts in that field also need help. I think we often, think if somebody's an expert at a particular thing in life, that there's no doubts that they go through or struggles that they go through. But this book, if anything, made it clear that everybody needs help and everybody at some point asks for help, and it's okay to do so. And I guess another point for that book as well would be it's never too late to change paths or an opinion about what you were doing, such as a career path, or if you used to think therapy was stupid and now you want to become a therapist, that's okay. So that's my take on that one.
Awesome. Thank you, Priscilla. Shawn, do you want to go next?
Even therapists need therapists. And it's kind of wild listening to this book because she had an amazing career, like a couple of careers before. I mean, holy crap. She worked on sitcoms, right? Hit sitcoms. And then she said, oh, I kind of want to be a doctor, and then med school. And then, oh, I think I'll be a therapist. It's like, what level of hell do you want to live in?
Yeah.
Impressive. Yeah. But that might have been her struggle, right? Because she was like afraid of dying. So like maybe she was like trying all the stuff to make her life interesting.
You didn't know that.
Well, everyone's afraid of dying. Oh, wait. We're not doing spoiler alerts. This is not Harry Potter.
No, you're right. People get angst about lots of weird things, and when you find out what's upsetting you, it's like so far removed from what you think you're getting upset about. I mean, it was the whole boyfriend thing, but it's like the, oh my God, I'm over 40 thing, really? And as somebody who's 46, I can totally relate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, that leads into what I think. I think the main point of the book is one of the chapters where she says, like, going to Holland, welcome to Holland. And it's basically like every time you think you're upset because your flight got canceled, so you can't go to Holland. You were trying to go to Ireland, but you ended up having to go to Holland. And so the whole time you're missing out on, like, you're just thinking, oh, I should have done this and this and this in Ireland. But by doing that, you're missing the reality of being in Holland and all the great things that Holland has to offer. So I think throughout the whole book, kind of like what you were saying, Shawn, like we get focused so much on little things that are, well, not all of them are little, they can be big things. But the point is if you keep thinking about everything that you're missing out on, you're missing out on the joy of actual life, and it's just going to fly you by. And a lot of it, because this couple of the patients that she was dealing with was she was dying, so it really put in perspective for her to, she's getting older. Like, really need to cherish every moment that you have, and you're not going to be doing that by thinking about what you're missing out on.
Sad story. I mean, what was her name? Julie? Was it? No.
Julie. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that was that was gut wrenching. I mean, it was just heart wrenching and everything else the whole time. Watching her just suffer like that. I mean, that was. Gosh.
Yeah.
I basically cried there for a while, but.
I basically cried throughout listening to this whole book because I was like, it's so sad.
It's so good.
I know.
This is one of the most emotional books we've read, I think, this year.
Definitely. But it also is a very big perspective book. You just your own life.
And I think it's such a good book to read, especially during this year, with the pandemic and everything going on. I think at some point, she doesn't word it verbatim like this, but she says something along the lines of, those who live in the past tend to be the ones who have depression, or dwell in the past, I'm sorry. And those who get anxious about what they're not doing or they're not going to get to do, they get anxiety. And that's kind of what she's trying to get to. You're always thinking either what happened in the past and not having the right perspective for that, or thinking about all these things that you might miss on or that you don't even really know, and you're not living in the present. And I think, in a year with a pandemic, with so much uncertainty happening from left to right, that could not be more of a better fitted, advice for everybody to just kind of sit down and, kind of live in the present kind of thing. So I don't know, it really does give you a big perspective on all things life.
Definitely. So with that being said, tell us what you liked best about the book and what you disliked about the book. Everyone.
All at once?
Once?
Yeah. Go. No, just kidding. Shawn, how about you first this time?
Well, the book was, like I said, kind of tugged at your heartstrings, listening to her and be with her clients and going through their struggles. I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a therapist. I mean, and I've gone to therapy, and I think everyone needs a therapist at some point. But there's no way in hell I could sit there and try to listen to people and not give my opinion, right? Because I mean, that everybody wants to give their opinion, but they're like trained not to. Just have them work through it and work through their problems and stuff. So it was a good story in the sense it was kind of a self-awareness for her as she worked through her issues. I thought that was a very good part of the book. I think it was a bit long for me. It wasn't one of our typical books. I mean, I could see where it was kind of self-help, but at the same time, what I'm going to take away from this is more of like what you were referring to, Priscilla, is let's live in the now and not dwell too much on the past or the future. So I like that. It goes with my meditation practice and those types of deals. I think it's one of the things I'm most guilty of and I need to work on the most is being in the now and maximizing what it is now. And I think in 2020, it's made me really realize that I have to celebrate all the little victories because there's a whole lot of other shit going on out there. And I can't dwell on that because if I sit there too long and dwell on it, I'm just gonna be grumpy all the time. And I don't want to be grumpy. I think you make your happiness and then everything else kind of unfolds. I don't think you need external things to make you happy. And if this year was an example of that, I would be absolutely miserable. I mean, I could see where suicide's like a real thing. And I know it is, and I know people struggle with that, and I'm not making light of that, but you really have to generate your own happiness and then really observe what's going on around you and take in all the good that's happening, because there really is a lot of good, and not let the headlines don't watch the news too much. It's going to bring you down. But yeah, maybe you should talk to someone.
Yeah, it's what you focus on. Exactly. Well, thank you, Shawn. Joseph, what about you?
What I liked was, I'll start with that. What I liked, I just like how real it was. It was like just like a real stories of people's lives. And I like the message of like people are going through stuff, and a lot of times we wear this mask, like everything's perfect, my life is so great. But everyone's going through something. Like everyone's been through a breakup, everyone's had a hard time in their life. And it's so powerful, I think, to share that message because it allows people to be like, I'm not a weirdo because I'm sad about a breakup or something like that. So I think it's an important message, and she gets the point across very well with all the different stories that she tells. And they're like range from like someone that seems like really sad, like Julie's story is like just like, that's very tough. Like it's tough to deal with. How do you help in that type of situation? Towards one where it's like, you know, alcohol problems and things like that, partying. So I just like the realness of it. But what I don't like about it is I would feel weird being her patient if she's gonna write a book about my problems, because I feel like that's kind of a weird thing because I remember when I was going to a therapist, I went to a therapist maybe once or twice in my life. When I was in Los Angeles, I would go to one and I would think like, I want to look good to this person. Like that was I remember thinking that at the time, like I would not tell the truth because I wanted to make myself look good to my therapist. So that would be even tougher if I knew she was going to write a book.
Trying to put your best foot forward, and after a while, they wear you down, right? I mean, everyone.
Yeah, it takes time, but I mean, I think that would be hard if I knew she was going to write a book. But I think she's a good therapist. I mean, just the book shows that she is a good therapist. She learned more empathy for her patients, and I just would feel weird. I wouldn't want to have a therapist who was going to write a book about my story.
Change your name. You wouldn't be Joseph D. Warren. You'd be
John Doe.
John D. Smith.
I'm sure she did that out of respect.
Yeah, she had to have changed the names, but I don't know. It just feel weird to me. Everyone's different, though. I mean, certain people, I'm sure, are fine.
Well, she mentioned multiple times, like, she can't breach confidentiality of who her patients were if anybody knows each other. So I'm sure she just didn't blast out their names in a whole book for everyone to read.
Well, even her therapist, she changed the name of him, and
she changed all of them, I'm pretty sure.
The whole sexy attraction thing towards the end is like, oh, hey, you're getting kind of freaky now with your therapist.
Freaky deaky. That's common with therapists. That's super common.
Okay, Priscilla, what about you?
Well, first off, this is probably like one of my favorite books. There's a lot of things I did like about it. To Joseph's point, I think it's just such a real and very relatable book. Not to say that everything that she tells about her patients is something that's happened to me, but more so how I just like how every single one of her patients, including herself, they get in this victim seat where they think they're the only ones going through a heartbreak, the only ones having, like, I don't know, alcohol issues or whatever the case may be, and how her therapist just sees right through that and kind of tells her, snap out of it. Like, you can be, in the victim seat all day, you're just not going to ever get out of it, nor move, nor progress, nor learn anything. You can be a crybaby all you want, but,
He was wrong. Tell me, validate me. He was wrong.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm a big believer in therapy. I have my own therapist who I've been going every time I see fit for, I want to say, like 3 or 4 years now. She's like the one that I have felt very comfortable with. And I can relate to her story and how she almost kind of wants to, like Joseph said, put a mask and portray this person that she's not, and kind of fool her own therapist into the therapist telling her what she wanted to hear, and it never really goes her way. And I've been in that situation where I tell my therapist bits and pieces of the story so that she could tell me what I wanted to hear so that I could do a certain thing, but she would see right through it. They're perfectly trained to see right through that, through those little manipulations that patients tend to do out of fear or, whatever the reason may be. So I think that's psychologically, that's a very interesting thing for me too. Look into, and I've always been curious about how well they're trained into looking past that and still giving you the proper advice that you need and not falling for your patient's lies nor victim stories or, all of that, and not getting sidetracked for what they need to, the work that needs to get done.
Yeah, they're not there to coddle you. right? They're not there to tell you you're pretty and all that kind of stuff. I mean,
They're not.
People want that validation.
And they're not there to tell you that you're right in whatever situation you're telling them that you're going through. It's not their job, so that's kind of cool.
It's interesting because they're basically saying it's not even their job to tell you, like, give you advice, basically. Like, because if they give you advice and you take it, then you're going to basically be mad at them. And I was like, what?
Right.
I haven't even thought of that. Like, I just assumed, like, a therapist give advice, but I've never been.
They do a lot of reverse psychology in such a subtle way where they kind of tell you, you know what to do without telling you what it is that you need to do. So it's a very interesting thing because I feel like so many of us get in a denial stage where like, no, I don't want to do that, or no, I really am sad because of the breakup, and in reality, it's something that happened to you when you were 4, and maybe you have, I don't know, created abandonment issues or something, and you didn't know about it or were aware of it, and you're making little things bigger than they are, and that's when you get in the victim seat, but you don't get it, you don't understand it, and they're there to help you put the pieces of the puzzle together for you to figure it out. So I think that's why I personally love that book.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yeah.
What did she not? Oh, go ahead. What did you not like, Priscilla? Because I know you like it.
I guess the last few chapters, from what I remember, they were just very fast paced. I feel like the whole storytelling was so detailed, and it was so, I don't know, like it was longer, and then at the end it was just like bam, 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 this is what happened, and that's kind of what I didn't personally like. I was expecting a little bit more at the ending, but that's just me. Maybe I'm picky.
She's coming to terms with Julie, and she's got her little crush on Wendell that she doesn't, after he changes everything, she's like a little freaked out about it. I mean, that's the last couple of chapters, right?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, not the very end, but that's close to the end. Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I agree with you, Priscilla. I love the storytelling aspect of the book. I love hearing stories. Like I said, I got so into the stories, like I was bawling, like on a lot of them, because I was just like, I feel everything. So I love that, but I wish that she would have gone more into detail about like the actual psychology aspects. I guess I get she can't give away all of her secrets that she went to school for, but I wish that she would have given a little bit more, not so advice, but little tidbits of. Because she did give little things here and there, but I just wanted more. But let's see. Something that I really also liked was when she was talking to her hairstylist, and the guy's like, I don't know how you're a therapist. Like, people are always talking to me, asking life story. He's like, I don't even care. And so just to shut them up, but also true, he's always like, he just says, just be.
I remember that.
And so she's actually like, that's really good. Like, so basically, because sometimes, the problems we complain about, like, aren't even really problems. And we're happier if we just don't dwell on them. Like, it could be something simple like, oh no, like my shoe broke, or I stubbed my toe, and then you just get like in this bad mood all day. And instead it's just be like, it's not the end of the world. And going back, it really puts things in perspective. So that's something I really enjoyed about the book. Okay. Next and last final question. So make it good. No, just kidding. Is tell us what is something that you learned from the book that you didn't know before, and how are you going to apply what you've learned to your real life? Who's gonna go first? Who are you pointing to? Joseph?
I was pointing to Priscilla.
Oh, I can go. I guess in the professional side of things from this book, I've learned how not to take everything that we've done as a mistake, but rather, again, just like another piece of the puzzle. Because if you look back, like you said earlier too, Shawn, like she's had such an amazing career. She was in the film industry for a couple of years. She was doing so well. She was writing. She decided to go to medical school. Then she was like, not a doctor, but let me be a therapist instead. And now she wrote a book that I think a couple of months ago, if not like a year ago, I heard they're going to create a series about it. So it's kind of a cycle. She started in the film industry, got away from that, wrote a book, about all the things that she's loved and everything that she's gone through, not to get her back to where she started, but my point is everything that she probably at some point thought was a mistake to get into the film industry. I should have gotten in, in therapy years ago. It really did land her in the best of places. So I think that's kind of like one of the things I did take away from that book. Sometimes I look back in my own life and I'm like, I should have done this, I should have done that. But then every single thing that I've done has taken me to where I am now and closer to doing things that I love even more every year. So it's kind of like a domino effect to me. So that's something that I'm trying to take away and always remember, not to look at things as a mistake, but rather as a part of, the road that I'm trying to get to, kind of thing. So, yeah.
I like that a lot, because it's like how they were saying with Rita and Myron, and how, she was kind of just self-punishing because of all the past that she had done, but she was able, she had finally told Myron all about her past that she had not told him before, and she wasn't sure how he was going to react. And then he had to think about it, and when he thought about it, he realized, okay, well, I didn't know all this stuff about this woman. Is she still the same woman that I love? And then he realized, well, because of her past and everything she's been through has made her the woman that she is today. It's made her more compassionate because she wasn't compassionate in the past, and so on and so forth. So even though we go through rough times, I agree that still makes you a stronger person today.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, who's next?
I'll go. Or you can go, Shawn. I'll go. I like that too. I kind of like what Priscilla said. It's like
proverbial piggyback we do every freaking episode.
Let me piggyback off that. I like what Priscilla said, because it's like in the short term you may think something's a mistake or a failure, but it could be leading you towards something great, or it could be like a stepping stone towards something better. So we really don't know, if you think long term, like where things are going to take you. It's crazy. When it comes to what I didn't know, it never really occurred to me like how often we lie to ourselves, and how like people tell stories and it's like may not be the true story. We kind of want to like save face. That's a big part of who we are as humans. So I think that's something that I learned that I didn't really know before, or didn't know too well. And what I'm going to apply is I'm going to start, I sound like a robot, I'm going to start feeling my feelings so I can progress to getting over things, like from the past and things like that. Little hang-ups.
Not a robot.
So I'm going to start feeling. That's my but I think something tangible I could do would be to talk to someone when I'm feeling down. Talk to somebody. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want to bottle it up like John did.
Yeah, Shawn was an asshole.
What was interesting about John is that he, I guess, was always like that from the beginning before he even had kids.
You think so? I think he became an asshole after Gabe.
No, because he was telling the story about how he met his wife Margot and how they were at a party and somebody said some stupid joke and he thought in his head, oh, what an idiot. And then he could tell Margot was laughing at it, but it was like a fake, haha, I'm being nice laughing, but you're an idiot too. And that's why he went up to her and was like, we relate.
He's like, she gets it. She gets it.
Exactly. So I think he was always like that. That's just his personality. But he's still a good father to his kids and all that, and he loves his family. Mm-hmm. Yes. Anyways, he mentioned how much he loved his kids in there. He loved them so much. He was so happy for his family.
God, he didn't love his kids.
He said he loved his kids.
He hid it very well. John was an asshole.
I think it's just a self-mechanism defense there. Just because I can't remember. I read the book a year ago, so it's been a while. but he lost a kid, right? So I think it's just him trying not to get too close in case it happened again, even though chances were not very high on that note. Yeah. And I think that's what people do. They just put out this barrier to not feel, but more so to protect themselves from feeling all the bad if it happened to happen. So, and out of all the people, he was probably the one with one of the saddest stories. Yeah, he was the biggest jerk out of them all, but he also had one of the worst stories as a client or patient.
We should not be comparing our pain. What makes it or our struggle?
True.
Yours more than mine. We all go through it in different ways. So
true.
John's
good point.
I could easily turn into John. I mean, because I could see me wanting that kind of control where if I lost it in a situation, I would want to come off as the guy who's always got his shit together going forward, right? So I could totally see being him. I think that's why he scares me. It's why he repulses me, and I would hope to never be him, right? So, and then for her to just have this whole attitude of, I don't care who you are, attempted murder, I'm going to find the good in you somehow. I mean, I think that's my big takeaway from this is, how do I do that, right? How do I meet anyone, and even if our personalities just clash, how do I have the attitude to where, look, there's something good in there that I'm gonna enjoy, and I'm going to get attached to, and we're gonna be okay. I don't care how how weird or extreme or however much you're trying to push me away. I'm gonna find a connection somehow. That's a lot of dedication. It takes a lot of energy, and I already think this is already a tough field to be in, therapy, to sit there and listen to people and not say, look, stupid, you need to do this. Because they can't do that, right? I mean, they're not trained to do that. They want them have to do the Jedi mind trick and do the jujitsu, oh, you want to
jujitsu
momentum this way kind of deal. And you're going to feel good later. You're going to hate me now, but you're going to love me later kind of deal. I don't have that kind of mental discipline to do that, but I would like to approach the world as anybody I meet, be able to find some spark in them that I can connect to and make some sort of relationship out of.
Mm-hmm. Well, you don't necessarily have to start a full-blown relationship with them and be their friend, but as long as you can find something positive out of them and just acknowledge that they're human beings too, and that they're not all bad.
And then ghost them.
And then ghost them. No. Or, just show appreciation.
Millennial saying, so I'm trying to be hip. So
you're hip, Shawn.
We appreciate you trying. Just kidding.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. But that is really big, though. That is very trying to find that connection, Shawn. So that's a big task. I'm proud of you. Okay, so for me, something that I'm going to take away is what she said is avoidance is a simple way of coping by not having to cope. And I was like, so let me sit this for a minute. That's so deep. So uncertainty means possibility, and you need to make the most of what you have. So what she's talking about is so many people like Julie, she was realizing so many different things as she was going through this process of dying. And when we don't think about time and we think we have all the time in the world, days and weeks and months and everything just goes by, and you're more likely to waste your time. Next thing you know, you wake up or you just binge watched all this TV and you're like, what did I do? Where'd the day go? Oh my gosh, it's been a year. So avoidance meaning avoiding doing something productive, avoiding reaching your goals, avoiding, getting that dream car, whatever it is, avoiding moving your life forward, I think is something that I'm really going to take away. And yes, you can have your relaxation days, but overall try not to get too caught up with the day-to-day drama of life and just things, and to really appreciate all the time that we have every day. That's what I'm going to do.
I love that. I'm going to do a heart.
Okay. Oh, so cute. I love that. I always forget that's a thing. Okay.
I like that.
So, any last things we would want to add on what we liked? Anything? Any other last advice for the audience?
You guys ever had a horrible therapist?
Not a horrible, but I've had a not very well fit for my situation therapist. Yeah.
I've had one who was like on an iPad, and that's what turned me off to therapy. Like while I was talking, she was like on her iPad.
See, and that was actually my last advice. I would say don't just try therapy once. I've had friends of mine who tried therapy with one or two therapists, and they're like, no, it's not for me. Mm-hmm. When in reality, I think therapy is for everybody. It's just a matter of you finding the person that you're meshing well with. You know what I mean? So I've had psychologists before, and they were very science-oriented, and I understood the psychology behind it, but I was not taking a lot of it with me. And then I've had a very spiritual therapist who, in the moment, I would come out feeling like the most positive human in the world. And then after 3 days, I would revert back to my always, because she didn't give me the tools that I needed. And then the therapist I have right now, who's my third, she does it all. She's like spiritual, but she has the science to back it up. But then she also gives me the tools that I need. And she's the one that I've stuck with for the past 3 to 4 years now. So I would really highly advise, if you guys don't feel comfortable with one, try another one until you do. Because it's always good to have a therapist, I think. That's just I'm super pro therapy, as you can see.
Are you would you recommend that everyone, even if it's a friend or something, somebody you could have a confidant, go out and just kind of just vent? Or do you think?
Well, and that, I guess with that question, I can answer or have like another piece of advice. You don't have to wait for something bad to happen to go to therapy. And that's something I learned too in therapy. When I first started going to this one, the one who's my go-to, that was just my mom telling me, why don't you go? It's kind of like doing that doctor checkup you do every year, but this is like the mental portion of it that we need to take care of as well. And I kid you not, like the first session with her, she's like, so what's going on? Is everything okay? And I'm like, yeah, everything is fine. My mom sent me here, and we started talking, and within 20 minutes, I was bawling my eyes out. And I was like, holy shit, you broke me. But in reality, I didn't realize how much shit I was avoiding, so it's
scared of dying.
Maybe. And that's what I'm trying to get to, right? Like, you don't have to go through a death or a divorce or a car crash or something major for you to be like, I think I need therapy. You just go and check it out. It cannot bring you back, and it's never a waste of time.
Well, a lot of employers, they'll have an employee assistance kind of deal. If you work for the city or SAWS like I do, those types of deals, they do have programs where you can go check it out, and it doesn't cost you a penny, right, for the first few sessions, and you can kind of see if that's what you want to do. So you should definitely check if you have benefits or if you're with an employer. You should go check that out.
I never thought of that. Thank you for that, Shawn. And okay, last thing then, just to wrap up, that I want to tell the audience is one more piece of advice from Lori. She says that when we get depressed if we don't get what we want now. That's a constant theme that she's seen with all of her patients. So, people want whatever, that new job now, or that new relationship now, or that house now, or whatever. We want everything to work now. We want that relationship with our mothers to be fixed now, but that's not how life works. And if we don't get it now, we'll get immediately depressed. So we just be positive and keep knowing that if we work hard at it, we'll get there. So don't give up, people. Okay, well, thank you, Priscilla. Thank you, team, for joining us today. You can find more about Priscilla in the description, and also check out Priscilla's podcast, I Don't Know Why. Find that in the description as well.
What's the name of it?
I Don't Know Why.
Really?
Yeah.
Why would I listen to it if she doesn't know it?
It's where you talk about
why. And then you'll find out.
You got me there.
So thank you again, Priscilla. Thank you, everybody. And don't forget that hustle beats talent when talent doesn't hustle. Okay, see you next time. Bye.
Bye.